The problem is not that your lazy coworker isn't doing enough. It's that you're doing the most. This is a trap that almost all of my high-performing clients fall into. You're talented, responsible, and dependable, and because of that, you become the safety net who'll cover for everyone else's unfinished work. But there is a genius way to deal with lazy people at work without getting stuck picking up their slack, or worse, taking the blame for their mess. It is crucial that you activate each one of these strategies, so make sure that you stay for the entire video. I also made you a free guide that you can download so that you won't forget anything. Link is in the description. Now, let's get right into it. The first smart strategy is both the hardest and the most important one. You need to stop giving an F about what they're doing. Over the years, I have worked with thousands of people who have been in toxic work environments dealing with lazy coworkers. I know how frustrating it is. I mean, it's unfair. Your lazy coworker is doing nothing while you're overworked, overwhelmed, and overlooked. Not good. As if that wasn't bad enough, while your lazy coworker is wasting time, you're getting stuck doing their work. You constantly have to pick up their slack. But the worst part is, 90% of the time, it's the lazy people at work who are getting praised, promoted, and paid. And if you've ever seen that play out, let me know in the comments below. There is one thing that you need to do to make sure you are never stuck with their work or holding their blame big again. You need to psychologically detach. If we were to peer into the mind of a lazy person and a high performer like you, we would find one drastic psychological difference. Lazy people do not care about work. They can completely ignore their job and be unbothered by the consequences. Stress, they do not know her. But high performers like you, anxiety is basically one of your main personality traits. You lose sleep over work. You stress about work and doing a good job. Maybe you're even stressed watching this video right now. The thing is, your lazy coworker's onto something. Their secret is selective negligence. You need to be willing to let things fail, especially when they're not your responsibility in the first place. If you're always there to catch the ball before it hits the ground, there is no problem. The work is done. Your boss does not care who does it, so there's no accountability. You have to let the ball drop. I know that sounds terrifying. It goes against every instinct and your identity as a good team player. But what if I told you that letting the ball drop would actually make you a better team player? Which brings us to the second smart strategy. This one is going to totally change the game, but it also might feel like I hit you upside the head with my handbag. You need to stop subsidizing the slacking. I have heard this story more times than I can count. You're dealing with a lazy coworker who does nothing and never gets in trouble for it. Instead, you're expected to do all of their work for them. Heck, sometimes you even volunteer to do it. And maybe that's okay once in a while, but warning, here's the handbag. Your hyper-responsibility has become the expectation. There are two dynamics that you need to understand in order to reverse this. First, your boss will always take the path of least resistance. Just pretend that you're a manager for a minute here. You get an urgent request from the C-suite and it's make or break for your career. You need to choose one of your two team members to do the actual work, Alexandra or Andrew. Alexandra has a full plate, but she is a rock star. You know she'll go above and beyond and nail it. Andrew has time. He has all the time in the world, actually. He's inconsistent and he misses deadlines. Now, who are you going to turn to? Let's be real. No one in their right mind is tapping into Andrew. He's going to mess it up or not do the work at all. So, Alexandra it is. And this is exactly what your boss is doing to you. They depend on you because you have proven that you're going to find a way to do the impossible. But there's this second dynamic at play, and it's why lazy people get away with being unreliable while you're expected to achieve: the expectation gap. Most people believe that performance measures are objective, but they aren't. You are being judged on your own baseline. Now let's go back to our duo. Alexandra is constantly exceeding expectations. It does not matter what she does, she's always over-delivering. Then we have Andrew. He's down here, hovering around, meeting expectations. Well, actually he isn't. Alexandra's doing a lot of his work, but he's getting credit for it. Now here's the gotcha. If Alexandra stops picking up Andrew's slack, Andrew's performance plummets. But because the boss expects Alexandra to swoop in and save the day, she's someone who looks like a problem when the balls start dropping. Andrew's perceived performance stays steady because he's always been like that. But Alexandra's perceived performance declines even though she's still doing her own job perfectly. I've had clients who have been reprimanded and even let go because of this perceived dip in performance the moment that they stop subsidizing slacking in the workplace. But you can totally avoid this by implementing the third smart strategy to deal with lazy coworkers. And actually, this one's going to boost your career quickly when you do it right. One of the ways that lazy people thrive in the workplace is by unapologetically bragging about themselves. Does it matter if they contributed to it at all? No, they take credit for the work that they did not do and they boast about it to the higher ups, which is why you need to start shining a spotlight on yourself. I know the thought of this gives like 80% of you the ick. Bragging is gross, but I'm going to change your mind about it because the bragging that I'm talking about is not bragging like that. It will actually feel totally natural and normal. I promise you. When you try it, you're going to come back to me and be like,
"Thank you, Jennifer. You changed my life."
Which, of course, bestie, you're welcome. There is a misconception that bragging only has one flavor: shameless self-promotion. That's the Andrew style, loud, cringy, and gross. No wonder why it vibes you out. But there are better flavors. My favorite, the holy level brag. This is where you publicly compliment someone else. The best part is it's an everyone wins scenario. It raises the other person's profile, it creates massive goodwill, and it puts the results in the spotlight, which inevitably also shines on you. It also happens to be a genius excuse to get in touch with leaders and build rapport, but that's a video for another day. Another flavor relies on the IKEA effect. You can get people invested in your success by asking for their input. When you succeed, they feel a sense of ownership in the result, so they will brag about the project and you. It's going to make them look good. Now, I want to highlight, no matter which flavor you choose, this really isn't about the tooting of a horn, so to speak. It's about making sure that you're not leaving credit lying around for someone else to steal. If someone is going to get praised, promoted, or paid based on your results, it had better be you. When you shine a spotlight on your impact, you are creating a scenario where fairness can finally flourish. But this can get complicated because success is not solitary. One of the prime ways that lazy people get promoted for doing nothing is by hiding in the group. Their laziness stays invisible in collaborative work until you implement the 4 SMART strategy. This is the one where the Andrews of the world finally get held accountable. Back in school, did you ever get stuck working on a group project where there was always that one person who did absolutely nothing? It became a game of grading chicken. Either you took the hit on your grade or you did their work for them and they still got credit. Well, those same people became whole-ass adults who never changed their ways. In fact, they thrive at work because they know that you will always flinch first. But once you implement the strategy, you're not gonna anymore. Instead, you are going to flip the script and make them look exactly as incapable as they actually are. And you're gonna do that by disassociating your success from their failure. This goes way beyond the typical advice that you find online.
Just divide up your work and make sure everyone is responsible.
We all know that doesn't work. So you're gonna change it up and you are going to give your lazy coworker exactly what they want: less work. On their surface, they want to skate by while claiming credit for the win, but you are going to cut them off from the credit. This makes way more sense when you know how it plays out. So let's go back to Alexandra and Andrew. Usually Alexandra prompts Andrew to do his part. Andrew pretends that he's too busy, and Alexandra ends up doing his work anyway. Then Andrew basks in the glory at the end and makes it seem like he was leading the whole thing. But not this time. Instead, Alexandra flips the script and cuts off his supply. She doesn't just do the work. She has Andrew removed from the project. But she isn't petty about it. She's concerned. Andrew seems to be struggling a lot with his workload. I think we should take this off his plate. Look, the result is the same. Alexandra is getting stuck doing Andrew's work one way or another, but this way he doesn't get to pretend that he contributed to it or get promoted because of it. Put your lazy coworker on an island of misfits. Draw the hard line. You're either in and doing the work or you are cast out. Now, as I say this, I can already imagine so many people taking this the exact wrong way.
Isn't this just throwing them under the bus?
No, and if you do this with the wrong energy, you're not solving the problem, you're creating a whole new one for yourself. To pull this off without looking catty, you must adhere to SMART Strategy 5 when you do this, even if it goes against every instinct in your body. Do not be a rat. I have heard this hundreds of times from people dealing with lazy coworkers. They try to fix the situation by bringing it to their boss.
Andrew isn't doing his job.
Guess what? Your boss doesn't give a f***. They're not dumb. They know that Andrew is lazy AF and they have already chosen not to do anything about it. For all the reasons that we talked about earlier, if you complain about your lazy coworker at work, your boss is gonna gaslight you.
I thought you were a team player.
So you're not going to complain. You're going to do this instead. Make it a them problem. While your boss isn't bothered by your problems, they sure are worried about theirs. You do this by controlling the narrative. This is what Alexandra did. Alexandra presented the problem as a concern about Andrew's workload with an immediate solution that just made sense. Reassign the work and the recognition to her. In the real world, this is much more nuanced, and to do it the right way, you really need to understand why lazy people get away with doing nothing at work. So I want you to go watch this video next, where I explain the promotion paradox and why your boss stays unbothered so that you can finally force them to take action. I'll see you over there, bestie.